You can go just down the road. There was a lady, you could hit her clinic with a stone from my parking lot, and it was $0 or $5 or $10. And you were going to drive right by her and come to me and spend thousands of dollars for just you. And I only saw families. So you're going to spend tens of thousands over a course of a couple of years with me, where it could have been free. There's a great book called The Obstacle is the Way. If you can figure out how to make every problem in your life simply the actual stepping stool, as they say, to getting you up to the next level, or the thing that you recognize is there to make you stronger, tougher, more able, that's really preparing you to succeed. That's, as we say in Christ, that's pushing you towards fulfilling your destiny. Then it's amazing what your life can become. You can become everything that God designed you to be. So, for just some simple chiropractic perspectives, for those of us that have been doing this a while, we've had to go on the insurance journey. And so when I started back in the early 90s, there was this thing in Central Florida called Major Med. And some of you still have that. You've been blessed by God and you live in an area where insurances still pay for your care, although some would say that's more of a curse than a blessing. But back when I started, people I learned from had come from what they called the Meecedes 80s. Maybe some of you never heard of the Meecedes 80s, but this was a time where people came in, you sent in what was called a HICFA form. It wasn't digital. You put this thing in an envelope and they just sent back money. And so for a decade, apparently, this is before I graduated, but for a decade, the chiropractors are printing money, seeing 80, 90 people a week, and created a lot of bad habits. And you had a lot of patients who didn't understand chiropractic, didn't value chiropractic. And that's kind of where I started. I was 1992, 93 when I opened a practice. So we had a little bit lingering from the Meecedes 80s. I had insurances that there was very low deductibles, super low co-payments. Most doctors didn't even bother to collect deductibles and co-payments because they were so low. Insurance companies never asked whether you did collect them. So doctors just saw people. And I had lots of insurances like that, big fat checks coming in, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, where why wouldn't you keep coming in? It doesn't hardly cost anything. It's almost worth it just to feel better when you get it, just like somebody doing it for like a massage. And so then suddenly in 1996, all of it went away for us in Central Florida. Disney, Universal Studios said, we're going all HMO. Only one doctor is going to be on it. And it's going to be awful for them because all you're going to get are these $5 and $10 co-payments. So basically, insurance went away. And so we talk about the obstacle being the way. What ended up happening is we had to become good at chiropractic. We had to become good at communicating. We had to have care that was better than the HMO guy or girl. We had to communicate our message at a whole other level and gain a scenario where people valued what we had so much, rather than literally there were co-payments that were $0. So you can go just down the road. There was a lady, you could hit her clinic with a stone from my parking lot, and it was $0 or $5 or $10. And you were going to drive right by her and come to me and spend thousands of dollars for just you. And I only saw families. So you're going to spend tens of thousands over a course of a couple of years with me, where it could have been free. So how do you do that? And that's what this training is on today. How do you create so much value that people are willing to invest in you and pass others who maybe in the past they even know they've been there before, they just take my insurance or they just charge me a copay. So going back to this moment, the insurance is gone. So imagine it's 1996. It's January 2nd. Patients are coming in and we have to let them know, I know it's been $8 to come in here. I know we haven't even charged you your deductible because it was so insignificant. Why bother? And no one else charges you your deductible either. So it'd been $8 to come in that, we weren't even necessarily staying on top of to collect because whatever. And so now guess what? Your insurance doesn't cover, but I'm sure you still want to come here because We seem to have a great relationship. You've done nothing but write testimonial after testimonial. So we know it's been working. You never miss a visit. So listen, we're just going to put you on a cash plan. And I can't tell you that the enormous amount of emotional distress that I faced within just a few days of January 1996 because of the amount of people who were like, are you kidding me? I'm not paying for this, and left. And so I realized that as much as I had built 1,000 a week practice and I was making millions of dollars as a really young guy in my early mid 20s, that I had done something kind of wrong here, that people didn't value me or chiropractic. They just came in because it felt good and it was cheap or didn't cost anything. So as much as this was painful, this obstacle that was in the way was painful. The obstacle became the way because there was something that I'd heard at that point in my career where if the whole world came to you, to your clinic on Monday, where would chiropractic be on Tuesday? And I realized that in my clinic, if the whole world had come in on Monday, that chiropractic would be ruined by Tuesday, that apparently nobody would value it. Nobody want to pay any money for it. And they were happy to walk away to just go someplace because it was cheaper. So as rough as this was, it helped me to now work on programs, education, and bring my quality of care up to a level that not only brought my clinic at that time to a point where we're making more money and helping more people than ever, and overcame this issue of losing all of our insurance, but turned into something where we opened up 5 clinics, opened up 125 clinics, started a coaching program, and have worked with thousands and thousands of doctors and students, all from this one thing that occurred, which was losing all of our insurance at a time when insurance was amazing. And when I tell you amazing, and I don't want to belabor the point, but they would walk in at least once a week with stacks of money. You know, the mailman would walk in, and I love the mailman. Like, so I don't think I've known the mailman's name since. I don't think I've hugged a mailman since. Not been a lot of work with mailman since that time. But I'll tell you, back then we loved the mailman. We had a nice relationship with that mailman because he came in with lots of money. So let's get into it. So we talk about step one. Let's just talk about step one. I needed to separate myself from the people down the road. In fact, we used all kinds of metaphors. I heard a story at the time where if you buy a diamond ring for $5, you just bought a diamond ring not worth $5. And we said the same thing since that was the typical copayment. When you get your back cracked for $5, you just had back cracking not worth $5. Somehow they're profiting off of your $5. In fact, I used to say you might as well save the $5 in the gas money. Just have your wife or husband walk on your back. Let your neighbor crack your neck. Why do it there? And we had people come in from these low end HMO type clinics and say, yeah, I mean, you literally lay down. There's no evaluation, no X-rays. They're just coming in, cracking your back. Nothing said about your condition or your case, and you just leave. Because actually, behind the scenes, what happens on those HMOs is, as I was told when I got on them for a short period of time, get them in and get them out. You can't afford in this program to do good care. No X-rays, no exams. Get them in, get them out, and that's the nature of that business. So I had to distinguish myself from that. So that's when, again, the obstacle being the way, I went out and got all 8 certifications in CBP back from Deed Harrison's dad. That's how long I've been around. I moved on from there to learn all of Pettibon. Went out and literally worked with Burl when he was alive, way out in Seattle there, from, long trip from Florida, but spent a couple days with him. Moved on, went through all 6 levels of training with Dennis Wogan and Clear so that I can continuously separate myself from the competition. That, yeah, you could go get your neck cracked for $5, or you can have your spine corrected, have a healthy nervous system, and not get cancer. Like, which one would you rather have? And if you wanted just the $5 back cracking, yeah, it's there, but you'll be back. We'd say, listen, these things don't go away that way on their own that way. You'll be back. And they were. And so we had a very healthy conversations that this is the problem. And sure, you have that option of getting your back cracked. But let me share with you, and we showed all of our pre and post x-rays. We showed here's with the HMO care and here's with our care. And, obviously radical difference. This person saw the HMO doctor for years, in fact, 8 years in the first case we showed them, and look at their spine. And we had already explained what a spine should look like. Look how badly this is decayed under their care. Not only that, has it really saved them any money? They've had carpal tunnel surgery. They're on 8 medications. They miss work. They haven't saved any money. In fact, we sat down and calculated what they'd spent just on co-payments and, from drugs, chiropractic, and surgery. And this person had spent $75,000 not calculating for lost work days. So virtually hundreds of thousands of dollars have been lost. And she's miserable, migraine headaches, all kinds of different problems caused by the 8 medications. Yeah, it was only $5. But where did that put her? Then we show her x-rays after seeing us. So like, again, her x-ray in her pre is 8 years of chiropractic. I showed that x-ray 90 days later. And now look what her spine looks like. And we asked them, now how many medications do you think she's on? Now how much do you think she's spending on lost health? Now how do you think she's feeling? And the patients will say, I'll bet she's off all her medications. I'll bet she's doing great. I'll bet she's not missing work anymore. She's supposed to have a second carpal tunnel surgery. I asked them, do you think she needed the second surgery? They answer it all correctly. They get it. With that corrected spine, you don't need that. So then what's the value of that? $75,000 for the free or $5 HMO, or you come see me. And yes, it's thousands of dollars to come to see me. But now look, we saved 75,000 at least. Plus, she has her life back. So we've made a lot of money here by coming to our place. We show a low back, and we'll say, here's a guy. This person in particular had been going to the doctor for 5 years and has a scoliosis in his lumbar spine, massive pelvic rotation. He's got colon cancer at 40, is a roofer, and cannot work at all anymore due to severe herniated disc, pain down the leg, severe back pain, and is headed towards spinal surgery, which they had quoted him $100,000. And even though he had coverage, he still had to pay $20,000. So here's a guy can't work anymore, colon cancer, endless medications, on his way to spending $20,000. So yes, ours is not free or $5, but look at his new x-ray. And so for a few $1,000s, you could see it's corrected. And I asked, do you think he has colon cancer anymore? Patients will say, I'll bet he doesn't. No, he doesn't. How many medications now? That's correct. 0. Think he had the surgery? Nope, never had the surgery. Think he's back to work? Yeah, I'll bet he's back to work and doing fine. You're absolutely right. He's back to work and making money again. So, we've saved this guy tens and tens of thousands of dollars. So yes, my plan's a few $1,000s, but, and it's not 0, but what's the savings really? What's he making really? We're making this guy probably $1 million. We one last example I'll show. It actually was the mom of one of my associates, and she had breast cancer. And we've shown them like chiropractic lifestyle, maximizing your immunity, radically lowering your chance of disease. Well, that wasn't the lifestyle she led. She wasn't under chiropractic care. She ended up with breast cancer, spent $1.2 million out of pocket treating her cancer over a couple of years, doing, all this advanced chemo, radiation, other expensive medical treatments, 1.2 million out of pocket, and died from that cancer. And then we show her x-rays, severe cervical degeneration, reverse cervical curve, atlas subluxation, that you'd expect disease. I don't know what disease you can expect, but you'd certainly expect disease. So what did that cost her? So if she'd come to somebody like us versus the HMO doctor and had that spine corrected and was perfectly healthy, what do you think would be the case? And the patients will say, I'll bet she doesn't get breast cancer. I bet she's still alive. I bet she doesn't spend $1 million. So, again, yes, our care is a few $1,000s, but you come here with this advanced work we do with, again, multiple levels of certification. You can see our clinic is very different. You go through a series of stations to go through spinal correction. You're going to get results on a different level than that practice down the road that's going to crack your back. Another thing we would just hand out to our patients regularly, we're different ways, different metaphors of just helping them understand the value of what we provide. And so one thing as an example is the story about there's this really great hairdresser in town, and all of a sudden, like the Supercuts moves in. And so this hairdresser is charging $35 for their haircuts, but the Supercuts comes in and is charging $10. And so guy starts losing business like crazy. That's the insane part of insurance. People will flock to those insurance companies despite it being bad care. So this poor hairdresser's losing business. And suddenly, however, that first person walks back to him with their hair all messed up from this $10 haircut. And a second person comes in and says, hey, can you do anything with this botched $10 haircut? And eventually, this hairdresser puts a sign out on the road that says, we fix $10 haircuts. And so we began to communicate to our patients that we fix $10 adjustments. We fix free adjustments. We fix $5 adjustments, that if you want to get healthy, you'll have to do that here. Last thing I'll say is this, and this is our Christ-centered chiropractic webinar. The other thing they don't get is you. So sure, they can go pay $0, $5, $10. In fact, the one story I heard from this HMO doctor down the road, the patient was told by the front desk, just go lay face. So it's first visit. So fill out some minimal paperwork. And the front desk person says, go lay face down on the table. The chiropractor walks in the door, does not say anything, doesn't say hello, doesn't say her name, doesn't ask about the patient's condition. Chiropractor walks in, cracks this person's back, walks out. Because again, get him in, get him out. It's $0 copayment. Get him in, get him out. So that's what they're getting elsewhere. But in a Christ-centered chiropractic clinic, they're getting the love of God coming through the CAs, through the doctor. They're getting healing presence. They're getting prayer. They're getting people that truly care like God cares. God cares more about the details of your life, your patient's life, than you do. Bible says that God loves you so much, he's the mighty warrior that saves you, and he sings about you. I love my children. I love my wife. I love my patients. I don't know about singing. That's a level of love that only God knows how to provide, but we do our best to provide a same level of love through the work we do at a Christ-centered chiropractic location. So not only can't they get the care you provide cheap somewhere else, they can't get you. They can't get God's love somewhere else because they've got a little piece of plastic that says Humana, Blue Cross Blue Shield, or Medicare. Bless you guys. Let me know how Dr. Rob and I, Dr. Eric, Dr. Ray can help. And remember who you are.